unsure if my microphone is working right now. So this could be an utter waste of time. Anyways, Super Death Grind 8.4, week 8, day 4 of my Super Death Grind. For 2 weeks, I'm grinding my face off. I'm just going to turn off my heater in case my sound is working. I'm just going to check the old email because technically speaking, I should get a live thing. So I'm going to pull up my phone. I'm going to test this out because I'm using new streaming software I've never used before. So bear with me as I test everything out live because I don't have time to do this sample recording. All right. So I'm going to go to my YouTube video. I'm going to see if I have sound. In case my sound is working. Oh, goodness. I'm just going to check the old email. Yeah, I have sound. Fantastic. Welcome. So yeah, let's hop right in. So currently I'm doing a plethora of many things. A, I am getting off of the caffeine. B, I'm doing polyphasic sleep. C, I'm trying to get more lean because I want to be shredded because I believe the mind works better when you're super lean and start businesses. Cool. We're on the same page. So I've been quitting caffeine. This is maybe the second week of pulling back caffeine. I just didn't want to go cold turkey on caffeine, not because I couldn't believe I couldn't do it, but because I didn't want to decrease in productivity overall. So I've been pulling back caffeine. I am down currently to just a double shot Americano or a half calf Americano in the morning. I'm going to finish out that and I'm going to hop right into doing a decaf coffee. So I did do some research about it, and there are trace amounts anywhere from here. Let's just look at this together. I'm gonna do this cool screen share. So we're just gonna go into how much caffeine is in decaf coffee. So this says a regular cup of coffee is 70 to 140 milligrams. A decaf cup of coffee. And I'm just going to change this to espresso because that's what I drink. Espresso, I can't sell. So 3 to 15.8 milligrams per shot. What would decaf coffee had per ounce? Yeah, so open that at decaf. How much caffeine is in espresso? 64 milligrams. So I would be going from, theoretically, depending on how much caffeine I had in my thing, because I want to do a quad shot for the taste with an average of 9.4, all but one. So it's going to be caffeine and caffeine dependent, but for decaf espresso right here, that's how much it's going to have, 3 to 15.8. So I'm going to have anywhere from like 16 to 30 milligrams, whereas the average has 64 milligrams. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what that does. So my game plan, my entire game plan for this whole thing was to be off caffeine entirely by November. So I'm getting close to November. So I'm going to switch to decaf as soon as we run out of beans. Why? Because I'm frugal AF. So once we run out of those beans, I'm going to go entirely off decaf, and then I'm going to make the call. Do I want to be off caffeine entirely? Decaf, is that too much because there's still trace amounts in there, and is getting off, that's like saying I'm going to get off heroin but still doing, saying, oh, I'm just going to do half a needle. I don't know how doing heroin entirely works, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? Because you're still on heroin. So I'm going to see, and part of this too is I still need to do some research on the gut health of coffee, because I was talking about there are certain different types of funguses and or bacteria that are in not necessarily caffeine, but in coffee beans, mold, spores, that kind of thing. So it does affect gut health overall, which is another thing I'm also after. But so I bring that up. The reason being is because, so the night prior, I took 5 milligrams of melatonin to help me fall asleep. And the reason being is because I just felt super, super, super wired, which is weird. I said that before because I just didn't have a lot of caffeine and or sleep in my system. So I took melatonin. I slept 6 hours, which normally I'm used to sleeping anywhere from 2 to 4 because I just wake up naturally. I don't set an alarm. So today I did not take any melatonin. I woke up at around 4 a.m. I think I went to bed at 10:30. So what is that? 5.5 hours of sleep. Not happy about that. Uh, I mean, I slept well. I feel well rested, but I just had a lot of stuff I need to get done, and I was hoping to spend a bunch of time this morning doing some of those things I needed to get done. So, because those hours, basically 2 to 7 a.m., I get a lot done because I'll usually be here in the office or working from home, and I just knock a lot of stuff out. And then usually what I do is I go home around 7 a.m., spend a couple hours with my family when they're awake, and then I'll come back to the office. So there's that. So not entirely sure what's going on. Here's what I'm going to do because I'm a huge fan of A/B testing. Right? We test one thing. We have a hypothesis, the old scientific method. We test it one way. We come back. We analyze the data. We test it another way. We come back, always to that control, and see exactly what's going on. So here's another change I have recently enacted that I do not know if it is affecting my sleep. So I am drinking a lot less water. But James, the water's like the fruit of life, or whatever you say. Well, here's the thing. I'm also trying to get really shredded. So I'm decently lean right now. If I had to guess my body fat percentage, I think I would be somewhere in that 5 to 8% range. I just don't know. I'm decently lean right now, but I want to get stupidly shredded. Right, veins in my jaw. Maybe not that lean. Maybe not Christian Bale in that one movie lean, but I do want to get really lean because I think the brain functions better. And I mentioned yesterday, you just have less fat stores, so you're less likely to store negative toxins in the body. So we'll see. But but and so part of the reason why I didn't drink water is because I think it overall, or I'm not drinking a whole bunch of water because I think it has negative implications when it comes to hunger signaling. So one of the battles, obviously, when you're trying to lose weight, is less calories than you're burning. You got to eat less calories than you're burning. And I know there's crazy gurus out there that say you eat dragon papaya fruit, 10 pounds a day and eat as much as you want, and you're going to lose weight. I do not subscribe to that theory because first and foremost, I believe in physics. So basically, I know it's going to be fighting hunger signaling. So if I can minimize and mitigate what type of hunger signaling is actually going on in my body, and my thought process is anytime you expand the stomach, which is technically true, is that when your stomach expands, it releases a hormone called ghrelin, which has a signaling effect with leptin, which basically controls hunger. So those signaling effects based on the expansion and the contraction of stomach is something I can mitigate by not having so much water. So almost entirely throughout the day, I drink really minimal water. I'm actually having some water right now. I don't know why. I just like drinking water early in the morning. And then typically I don't drink water throughout the day. I may sip on it just a little bit, but not a whole lot. I will have like a sparkling water, like a Pierre Pellegrino or something that's, carbonated with sodium bicarbonate. And I could get in a whole discussion on why that is. Having sodium bicarbonate is important for muscle function and those sorts of things. But so I have, I'll sip on that. I may have a couple decaf Diet Cokes currently. Don't hate on that, okay? It's a vice, and I know I'll get better. Don't worry. But yeah, I don't really consume a whole lot of water, right? Because I don't want that expansion and contraction of the stomach for the hunger signaling. So at night, I also reduce my water intake because before I would probably drink, this sounds crazy, but in a 2 to 3 hour period, I would probably drink anywhere from half a gallon to a gallon of water. And I typically like drinking ice water. One of the reasons why I like ice water. I prefer it over room temperature water. Just, I don't think inherently drinking cold water is going to have a positive thermogenic effect on the body. And if it does, it's going to be minimal where it doesn't really make a difference. So don't subscribe to drinking cold water for beneficial things. I don't. I just like the taste of it. So part of the reason why I was doing a reduction of water is and I'm going to get to why I think this is playing a factor with sleep. the hunger signaling, because I know once I mitigate those hunger responses, I'm going to have a lot easier time consuming less calories because that's part of the battle. The other thing is, I think this is another hypothesis. So I haven't really read any scientific literature to support this, but what I think is that one of the things that you find when you have a reduction of an intake of calories is that your body's internal thermostat for your core temperature changes, because what happens, your body always wants to conserve. It says, hey, this guy is starving me. What can we do to maintain status quo homeostasis, right? Because he's already lean. Why are we burning more fat? This is kind of scary. Let's maintain homeostasis. What can I do to conserve energy so he's not burning so many calories? Oh, I know. Let's turn that thermostat down and deregulate his core temperature, so we can focus on other metabolic processes. So my thought process is there: when I have less water in my system, um, my body's perhaps not trying to deregulate my core temperature so much because I don't have such an influx of water. There's not other metabolic processes that are, expanding cells, making sure the water inside those cells are regulated at a certain core temperature. So it's just one of my thought processes too, that if I don't drink an excessive amount of water, I don't have to undergo metabolic processes that, take away from the regulation and or deregulation and or upregulation of internal core temperature. Because here's the thing, we know what is a calorie. A calorie is the basically it's just a measurement, right? A calorie is a made up set unit of energy that I think it's raising 1 gram of water, or 1 cubic centimeter of water. I think they're the same thing. 1 gram of water, 1 degree Celsius, right? That's all a calorie is a measurement of energy. And or, when we talk about intaking food or expelling energy, how many calories we burn on a 24-hour basis, it's basically a metric just to gauge, how much energy is going in, how much energy is going out. So why I say that is, if you understand that model, someone who has an internal core temperature of 95 degrees. So let's say we have two men, they're 200 pounds, both 10% body fat. Basically, they're twins and they do the same job and the same activity level. So if we have two guys, two twins, 200 pounds, 10% body fat, one guy has a core temperature of 95 degrees, one guy has a core temperature of 98.7 degrees. The guy with the core temperature at 98.7 degrees is burning more calories from thermogenesis, right? That's physics 101. His core temperature is upregulated, it's operating at a higher level. Therefore, he's burning more calories in a 24-hour period. So if I can find ways, because here's what we do know and we can prove scientifically, is that when you deregulate calorie intake, right, you're eating less calories than you're burning, the body always wants to maintain homeostasis. So what typically ends up happening is you're going to deregulate core temperature. So knowing that, my question is, can you find ways to mitigate the deregulation of core temperature? I do believe you can mitigate it from, there's certain things you can do. You can have essentially thermogenics. So I think this is one of the reasons, to me, why thermogenics are really beneficial when you are dieting. And I'm not saying take a whole bunch of stimulants, but it could be eating spicy foods, right? You have cayenne pepper and peppers and all your stuff. And one of the reasons why it's a thermogenic, right? It increases core temperature because it's hot, it's spicy. It increases, essentially the temperature of your body. I'm sure all you guys know, maybe you've eaten some hot before. You had some Diablo sauce and Taco Bell, you ate some spicy food and you're like, woo, I'm sweating, right? What does it do? It upregulates core temperature. So that's all a thermogenic is anything that has an upregulation effect on essentially what would be core temperature of the body. So if there's anything I can do to mitigate that, and I do believe having less water intake, or not an abnormal amount or not really insanely high, helps mitigate the deregulation of core temperature. So that is one of the reasons why I stopped drinking so much water. So hunger signaling and deregulation of core temperature. Now then, why I think that plays an effect in sleep. Here, let's go to my whiteboard for this. Let's do a little screen share. Screen share. Cool. So if we go to my whiteboard, so let's say we have sleep cycles, right? So let's say this is midnight, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m., 8 a.m. So let's call this deep sleep, right? We have deep sleep right here. We have light sleep. And there's more scientific terms for this. And let's just say this is a baseline right here. So when I go to bed, I start out and basically, I go into light sleep and then I go into deep sleep and it's really hard to wake up right here. And then I go back down, right? And I go into light sleep cycles and then I go into deep sleep and then I go into light sleep cycles and then I go into deep sleep, right? And this is kind of a rinse and repeat thing when it comes to sleep cycles. There are, mesocycles essentially that your body experiences every night when you hit REM sleep. And this REM right here is super beneficial for brain cognition, for metabolic processes, all that sort of thing. So basically where you want to wake up is in this light sleep. So if you can time your cycles, and this is crazy nonsense talk, but I have done this before. There's little apps and watches and things you can wear in bed to know when your deep sleep is, what your light sleep is, and to know, what is this interval time frame, because it's going to be different for everyone, right? It's not going to be 2 hours. It could be 45 minutes for you, could be an hour and a half, maybe it could be 3 hours. I don't know. You're going to have to figure this out on your own. But what I would speculate with my water intake, good old H2O, is that I drink a crap ton of water. And what would happen is that I really need to pee. I'm a stomach sleeper. I'm sleeping on my bladder. So, right here, when I get to this light sleep, right? When I get to this light sleep, my body's like, oh, dude, you got to pee. And I wake up because I really typically have to go pee really bad when I wake up. And I think without that water intake, what's going to happen is I'm just going to blow through that. And then I pop up and back down. And now here's when I'm going to feel like I wake up naturally. So knowing that, I think tonight I'm going to try to drink a bunch of water and see if that plays a factor, because I need to wake up earlier. Waking up at 4 a.m. is not going to cut it right now. And I don't want to wake up with an alarm because I think there's something really beneficial about just waking up naturally. I can't really explain what that is other than, when I wake up, I always say, lessons from kids. When I wake up, I'm ready to go. I hop out of bed. It's most of the time when I wake up, I can't even think of a time when I wasn't ready. But when I wake up, I jump out of bed and I'm like, there is no waking up process. I'm just like, let's go. And you see that a lot in kids, right? Because most of the times, never wake the baby. Advice to you parents out there: do not wake your children up when they're in the middle of the sleep unless you really have to be somewhere, because they're going to be cranky, right? Because you wake them up, they're kind of groggy in the middle of a sleep cycle. I don't know what's going on. And you're really fragile in that moment, which is part of the reason why I give such levity and merit to my early morning process, is because the mind is so fragile right when it wakes up. And if you wake up into crap and you're just responding to certain things, you're more than likely going to have a bad day because you start off on the wrong foot. And I could go into a whole thing about why I think the fragility of the mind happens so early in studies and all that stuff. Suffice it to say that what you do for that first hour when you wake up is vitally important for setting the tone of the rest of your day, right? If you wake up to a crappy text, you check your phone, you're on social media. Susie Smith over there was just in Cabo with this guy that I was interested in. And oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? If that's one of the first things you see in the morning, that is a recipe for disaster. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about today. I was hoping to wake up a lot earlier. Woke up, I don't know, right around 4, maybe a little bit earlier. And I went to bed at about 10:30. That's another thing. I'm getting to bed slightly later than what's planned on. And part of that reason is because I've just been having to work so late. I didn't leave work till 8, um, 8 p.m. last night. And then I had to do even more work when I got home, and, wanted to spend some time with the kids. That's another thing I want to touch on briefly, is that I'm on the struggle bus a little bit when it comes to family life right now. Not that it's bad, but it's just I miss them a bunch just because I've been working so much. And I knew, for this death grind, there are certain sacrifices that I would have to make. But, one, kind of non-negotiable is that, like, I'm not going to neglect my kids or my family. That's just, not going to happen. And although I don't feel I'm there yet, I definitely feel when I come home how much my kids miss me, and I see subtle changes in their behavior because of it. And it's sad. And I love those little humans in my wife. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. And I'm also finding that I'm just, in fact, running out of time in general, even with polyphasic sleeping. And I think, this is the entrepreneur's dilemma, is that you find, there's only one of you. And I'm not saying there's anything special about me that no one else can do. It's just that there's certain things you want done a certain way, or there's certain things that maybe someone's not trained in yet, or, a lot of times when you start a new business, there's just so many things that need to get done, and they have to get done at a rapid pace. And you may not have time to say, hey, I'm going to train someone for 2 hours so they can do 30 minutes of work. I'm just going to do that 30 minutes of work, and I'll, train them, when the time uh, allows. So I'm running out of time, even with not sleeping a whole lot. So because here's the thing, I just wasted 6 hours sleeping, right? If I can only waste 2 hours sleeping, that's a lot better. I think I'm contemplative of going on a 48-hour, doing a couple 48-hour fasts. And part of that 48-hour fast is I just don't sleep. I know it sounds a little crazy. Fun fact, so I did commercial fishing for a few seasons, and part of commercial fishing is you don't sleep. There were times, I can't remember the longest stretch we did working, like staying up, but I know it was around 50 some hours. And you don't sleep. You get a lot of weird energy, and you just persist. And time is a weird, fictitious thing when you don't sleep. So I know I've done it before. I have done marathon sessions. I'm sure, we've been in college or school, or, partying with friends or whatever, and we've done marathon sessions like that. Um, Hopefully there weren't too many drugs involved people out there. But, one thing I kind of want to play around with is, can I do a 48-hour marathon session where I just don't sleep? I don't know. I'm interested to find out, though, because I need more time. So, basically, kids go to bed, wife goes to bed, I go to work, work all through the night. And now there's not this, I'm wasting time waking up, I'm wasting time with my morning processes. It's just one coherent long grind. So, I'm going to buy, maybe a couple hours with just not having to re-engage in the day and go through my processes. And beyond that, there's that, the sleep time. I'm going to save, buy back another 62 hours a night. So, that could be anywhere from another 7 to 3 hours a day for 2 days consistently. So that's another 14 to 6 hours I can buy myself by just not sleeping. Crazy, maybe. I know. All right. So I think that's going to be it for today. I think that's all I wanted to touch on. 23 minutes. Wow. I need to shorten these guys up because I could just ramble on and talk about stuff forever. But that is it. Be good humans out there today. Do something kind for someone. Don't be a jerk to other people. Realize that this world has billions of people in it, and they are going through things similar to you, which could be good, which could be bad. So have some empathy for other people, folks, and be kind